to talk to you today about the work we've been doing at CUNY and across the system, really, to support open pedagogy and open teaching and learning. Next slide, please. So at the root of the work that we have been doing are two open platforms, the CUNY Academic Commons and Manifold. The CUNY Academic Commons has been around since 2009. It is a project that is supported centrally by the CUNY Office of Academic Affairs, and it is also housed and hosted at the CUNY Graduate Center. We've been very grateful that CUNY has made this investment in open infrastructure in the Commons. The Commons is based in WordPress. It is a faculty-led project, and it is built on open source software, which means basically that it is software that can change and can be molded in response to the feedback that the users of the platform bring to it. It hosts websites and also groups where people can connect to each other. And we've seen uses of it across the research, teaching, and service missions of the university. Increasingly, as you'll hear today, it is being used to teach classes at CUNY, and that was particularly apparent during the pandemic. Secondly, we will be talking today about Manifold, which is an open publishing system that is also being used across CUNY, particularly to publish open educational resources. Manifold is a partnership between the CUNY Graduate Center, the University of Minnesota Press, and Cast Iron Coding. And it began life as a platform to publish digital monographs, full books, but increasingly, and CUNY has really led the way here, it is being used to publish open educational materials. So what you'll see in our presentation today is the way that these platforms for open infrastructure have really served as the basis for the work that we've been doing. It's been crucial to have these platforms because they are spaces that allow for the open creation of content. And I'll hand it over to the next speaker now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Luke Waltzer. I'm Director of the Teaching and Learning Center at the Graduate Center and Director of Community Projects on the Commons. And I work with the other folks here to think about how to move these platforms along. So I both work on the platforms and am a power user of them. So I want to speak briefly about how we at the Teaching and Learning Center have used both the Commons and Manifold over the past year during our pandemic year. We support hundreds of graduate teaching fellows who teach throughout the system. And increasingly, we support graduate center faculty who last year were forced to transition their courses to remote instruction. I'm sorry, can you go back a slide, please, to the continuity slide? Back one more. There we go. Thank you. So on March 6th of last year, anticipating the shutdown of in-person instruction, the Teaching and Learning Center launched this site, Considerations for Instructional Continuity, on the Commons. And the site emphasized the limited financial and digital resources that CUNY faculty and students had at their disposal, prioritized community, care, and flexibility as the university steeled itself for the pandemic. In the second week of March, this site got over 5,000 unique visits, which was the most traffic on the Commons that month. And we were able to kind of use it as a rolling repository for guidance that we were creating on the fly, including one set of guidance. You can see a link here, quick tips for transitioning instruction that would take what our faculty had been doing in face-to-face modes and give them a way to do something similar or parallel using digital tools. So the emphasis here again was on emergency remote teaching, getting through the semester, remaining in touch with our students, and connecting everyone to support. Roughly 50 new course sites launched in March. So these are faculty who are launching sites on the Commons specifically to stay in touch with their students after the shift to remote instruction. Next slide, please. In April of last year, we transformed our annual summer institute, which prepares about 100 new first-time college teachers for their first semesters teaching, to a fully online version of the institute. It also increasingly emphasized online teaching. Previously, we had emphasized face-to-face modes. So this website you can find at cunyis/tcuny. It'll take you, you can see the curriculum for the Summer Institute. You can see recordings of the plenary sessions that we did. And the main innovation on this space were 20 go-at-your-own pace workshops that we developed that supplemented what attendees learned in their institute seminars. And those workshops are still live. They can guide people through various methodologies for teaching in the classroom. And they're available as open educational resources. And Laurie will talk about that momentarily. Next slide, please. The spine of the Summer Institute was actually our Teach at CUNY handbook, which is published in Manifold. This is now in its 3rd edition, with a 4th edition coming this summer. And this text provides guidance for new college teachers to how to think about the CUNY classroom, and then methodological guidance that they can use. Everything from syllabus design to assignment design to grading to using educational technology to navigating curriculum in different campuses. Manifold was really useful for us last year at the Institute. All of the attendees annotated the handbook. We have hundreds of comments and questions that have now guided our revision of the handbook, which will be a major revision that will be published on Manifold this summer. And finally, one more slide, please. I'd like to introduce GC Online, which we launched at the end of the summer. This was a collaborative project between the TLC and the GCDI teams. And this was to focus on graduate center faculty who would be teaching online throughout the 2021 academic year. This offers what we refer to as a dip, dive, dunk approach for faculty who want just a little bit of guidance. They can get a series of tips that can help them think about teaching online. It also has workshops for people who want more sustained conversation. And then it's connected to a community on the Commons where people can have dialogue in an ongoing way. That would be the dunk approach. This site is now being overseen by the Carnegie Educational Technology Fellows. It's a program that Matt and I are co-directing this spring and through the fall. It's a group of 10 graduate students who are supporting instructors at the GC and publishing everything that they do on GC Online. So we'll share links for these in the chat, and I'm just really thankful to have the Commons and Manifold as homegrown platforms that we've been able to use as we've responded to this crisis. Laurie?
Thanks, Luke, and hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you today. Thanks to the organizers for inviting us. So my name's Laurie Hurson. I'm an open educational technologist in the Teaching and Learning Center at the Graduate Center. And so in my role as an open educational technologist prior to the pandemic, I had been supporting faculty using the open infrastructure that Matt and Luke have introduced, which was in place prior to the pandemic, but my work continued and has evolved over the past year. So can we actually go to the next slide? Thank you, Robin. I primarily support graduate students and faculty from across CUNY, teaching on the CUNY Academic Commons and teaching with open educational resources. And that work has ramped up and evolved during the COVID-19 pandemic. But something that has become really popular on the Commons is hosting courses. So originally the Commons was designed to foster community and collaboration across CUNY and across the 5 boroughs. And graduate courses have been run on the Commons since its inception, but in the spring of 2017, the Commons opened up to allow undergraduate teaching. And we started with 6 faculty fellows in the spring of 2017, teaching 1 course. And since then, we've hosted over 1,200 courses on the CUNY Commons. And in the last year, from January 2020 to January 2021, the Commons hosted over 600 courses across CUNY. And in the past year, we've added over 7,000 new members. Over 6,000 of those new members were students, undergraduate students from across CUNY, and there are over 500 faculty who joined the Commons. So during the pandemic, the Commons, in a moment when folks were migrating to teaching online, the Commons really offered an integral pedagogical research and social infrastructure for the CUNY community. So I'm going to take you through a couple examples of courses today so you can see how the Commons is being used. So if we could go to the next slide. What you see here is our courses directory. And on the next slide, you'll be perfect. You'll be able to see. So when you go to the Commons, let me actually drop this link. So when you go to the courses directory, when the Commons started, we did not have a directory for courses. Folks were running courses and there's no way to surface this information. But I think in the fall of 2018, we updated the Commons. So every year the Commons is updated both in the spring and the fall. So we updated it to be able to surface what courses are running. And you can see now, you can search by courses via campus, you can search by semester, you can search by disciplinary cluster, you can search by instructor, and you could search by keyword. So this filtering in the courses directory really allows faculty to host their courses and allow students to find their courses. And it also allows all Commons users to sort of browse and see what's happening on the Commons. What's nice about this is the Commons has varying privacy levels, so you do not have to run a completely open course to the public. You can run an open course and host an open course that everyone can see, but you can also have your course only open to the CUNY community, and even more private, you can host your course so it's only visible to you and your students. So there are sort of varying privacy levels that you can see the course that's running, but you can't always go into a professor's course. And Matt had mentioned that the Commons allows faculty and users to create groups and sites. So courses are run either in those two spaces. So right now I'm going to take you through a group, a teaching group, and a teaching site so you can get a sense of how faculty are using the Commons across CUNY. So let's move on to the next slide. Perfect. So thank you. So this is an example of a group on the Commons. Groups are less customizable, more static, but they do offer various functionality. So a group has the course title, course description, and you'll see that we can't see much more about this course because it's a private group. So this faculty member had never used the Commons for teaching prior to March 2020. And when we shifted to online teaching, she needed a platform that was easy to spin up and invite her students to host discussions and host her course library. So we got her started with a group because when you create a group, there's not much customization that you need to do beyond that. And she decided to make it private to her course. But if you go to the next slide, we can see one of the more recent developments on the Commons, thank you, is that we've kind of revamped the group library. So now you can host PDFs, external links, like links to a Google Drive or to a Zoom meeting is just something that we saw a lot happening in the past year, hosting PowerPoint slides, hosting journal articles, readings. So this is an example of a group library, but professors who have spun up their course quickly in March 2020 who needed to shift to online, a group is what a lot of folks did because you get your group up and running, you can invite your students, you populate your group library, and then you'll also see in that gray menu on the left, there's the option to have a group forum where many professors hosted online discussions to scaffold their in-person, right, Zoom meetings that a lot of folks were running in the spring and recently this fall. So that's an example of a group. It's static. You're not going to customize it very much. The next thing I want to show you is a site, a course site that is a little bit more customizable and offers a little bit more flexibility on the Commons. So perfect. Thank you. So this is a course run at Brooklyn College, which actually came out of their OER fellowship program. So this is a completely open course that's run on the Commons by Professor Griti, and it's language, loss, culture, politics, and the self. And so what this professor has done is set up a website that allows her to host her syllabus information, her contact information, and then she built out various modules. So you'll see all the way over on the right side, Unit 1, contexts, etc. She built 6 modules that covers each section of the course, and within each module, she's teaching the course with entirely open resources. Sometimes she's linking to Democracy Now!, sometimes she's linking to videos. If we could actually go to the next slide, it'll jump us into one of those modules. Perfect, thank you. So she's using so not only is she running an open course, which is published on an open platform, which is the Commons, which is open source, she's also using all OER, all open and multimedia resources. So if you do visit her site, and I'll drop the link in the chat after this, you can see all the readings that she's using. You can see the video, she's linking to podcasts. So it's really expanding the types of content that she's using to teach. She is using some journal articles, and those are protected by a password. So it's an open course, it's zero textbook cost to the student. So it is an OER course. But if there is a reading that's from a journal article that she has the copyright for to teach with, you can set up different privacy settings on your site to use different kinds of resources on your site and in your course. So it's an example of a course site. It's open, multimedia resources. I want to show you one more course site, because something that the Commons does do well is allow you to scaffold assignments and sort of remix assignments. So this is a graduate teaching fellow that Luke mentioned. We run the Teach at CUNY Institute. And this particular fellow, Sam Teeple, went through our institute, I think, in 2019, and he's been teaching on the Commons since then. And he's taught fall 2019 on the Commons. And then when we shifted to fully online in spring 2020, he was already using the Commons. So he continued to use this course site and scaffold his students' work and projects. You'll see he has a how-to guide and his syllabus and a course schedule on his site. And in his course schedule, it's much like the last one we just saw, with links out to readings, links out to videos, and particularly because this is a music class, links out to audio. And what he does in the music and playlist, which is the section that we're now in, he has students do a topic proposal in the beginning of the semester, which they propose a topic that they're going to build a playlist around on Spotify, because it is a music class. So they do the topic proposal, which they turn in on this site. They do their midterm and write a paper, which they also turn in on this common site. And then for their final project, they build a Spotify playlist and write a final paper that they also embed onto the site. So they can have their playlist and their paper all collected in this site in one place. So in this way, he's using his common site sort of as a course headquarters, but also using it as a way to scaffold student work throughout the semester, and also doing multimedia final projects using this playlist. Other professors have students create videos and also write a paper. So there's a lot of ways to remix kind of more typical assignments to use the affordances that the Commons offers. So those are some open courses that have run on the Commons. I want to show you two more projects. So in addition to open courses, the Commons also hosts OER. Open educational resources are the contents, the open contents that professors can use in their class. So readings, videos, things like that. And in addition to hosting these open courses, the Commons also host websites that collects all of these open educational resources. So this is an example of an OER repository on the Commons called Natural Sciences OER. This has been started by professors at LaGuardia to collect all of the science resources that folks might need to use in their bio and chem series of courses. So if you're teaching sciences at CUNY and beyond, and you're looking for these sorts of open materials to teach with, this natural sciences site is open to anyone, and you can use and remix the information on that site for your own course. The next slide is an example of an OER that we created at the TLC. Over the years, we've done various workshops about accessibility, assignment design, practices for in the classroom, ed tech, which is why we're all here today. And we had all of these workshops and agendas and materials, but we hadn't previously licensed those openly. So over the last year, we've went through and licensed all our materials and released them publicly. So if you're looking for information to run a workshop on the Commons or ed tech or designing active learning assignments, we have workshops for that. And you can go to our TLC workshop archive, take our materials and remix them for your own site and institution and faculty. So that's there too. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the Commons also offers reflective spaces. So over the past year, It's been a whirlwind, and we've shifted to teaching online. And the blog Visible Pedagogy, which is run out of the TLC, has always hosted discussions about teaching and learning across CUNY. But this year we worked with a TLC fellow, Sakina Laksimi Moro, who now actually works at Lehman College. And she made this amazing podcast called Teaching in Our Dystopian Reality, where she invited educators to reflect on what shifting to teaching and learning online in last year has been like. And so we hosted this podcast on the Commons. And so the Commons really offers spaces to create new projects and embed new resources. And I just wanted to point that out and say it's for teaching, it's for hosting OER, and it's also a space for reflection. So that's been the Commons in the past year. I'll pass it over to Robin now to talk more about Manifold. Robin and Wendy. Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. I think, whoops, let's see if I can get back in here. I think first we might hear from Matt just briefly, even though he did cover a bit of this and I know we're running short on time. If Matt wants to jump in and do his little spiel again.
Well, thank you, Robin. So as I mentioned earlier, Manifold is a project that is a collaboration between the CUNY Graduate Center, the University of Minnesota Press, and Cast Iron Coding. It's been funded by the Mellon Foundation and the National Endowment for the Humanities, with strong support from the CUNY Office of Library Services. And Manifold originally began as a book publication platform. It was designed to really publish digital books. But at CUNY, what we've really been focusing our installation on is the publication of open access resources, open educational resources. Manifold is grant funded, it's not for profit, and it's open source. And at CUNY, we have a hosted installation, which means that any member of the CUNY community can create an account, which will allow them to comment and also to fill out a short form to create projects on it. And this is a quick look at our team. And we're very lucky to be working with such great colleagues across all three of these areas. And one last thing I would say is that this collaboration is notable in that the three perspectives here that are being brought together, a digital humanities center, a university press, and a development agency, have really been crucial in helping us create Manifold. And it's part of the reason why the collection of those perspectives is part of the reason why Manifold looks and works the way it does. Over to you, Robin.
Fantastic, thanks, Matt. Hi, my name is Robin Miller, and I'm an open educational technologist at the Graduate Center. I work as part of the Digital Initiatives Group. Much like Laurie, I support all members of the CUNY community as they use Manifold. So that's trainings, workshops. I'll come to your class if you'd like to do a class project to build something in Manifold, which we sure hope that you do. I can get this to change. There we go. Okay, CUNY's Manifold instance is committed to expanding access to open educational resources by providing instructors with a free and easy to use platform that allows them to create beautiful, interactive, and customized versions of text for their courses. And more importantly, is to bring students' voices into the texts and materials used in class through social annotations. So Manifold's broad project goals are to push digital publishing beyond the static PDF and other modes of digital publishing that try to mimic the physical book, and instead create something of and for the web that takes advantage of its ability to showcase scholarship as an iterative process. And just a side note, Manifold does not harvest or profit from any instructor or student data. So the Manifold reader is responsive, which ensures excuse me, accessibility. Students can read and access all their materials on their phone, their tablet, their laptop, their desktop, and they can also annotate a text and explore added resources no matter what device they're using. So Manifold gives you the opportunity to bring dynamic multimedia resources directly into the text itself and provides an elegant interface that allows readers to interact with each other and the text through social annotation, really bringing the scholarly conversation into the text itself. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, terrible allergies today. I apologize for that. Um, Generally, instructors at CUNY are using Manifold to publish dynamic, customized course editions of public domain texts and adding multimedia resources such as audio, video, and images to a text to further support student learning. This particular edition that you're looking at right here was created by faculty at Ostos for use by multiple instructors across multiple CUNY campuses at the same time. So by using the same Manifold text in different course sections, students are given the opportunity to exchange thoughts and ideas, not only with their classmates, but also with their peers at other CUNY campuses. So when I think about like the transition to remote learning, it really presented so many challenges to everyone in the CUNY community. And as we all kind of struggled to create and maintain student engagement, it's really highlighted a need to think creatively about how we can do this. And so for the Manifold team, this was challenging, but it was also a really exciting year as we have seen the entire CUNY community like really lean into Manifold. What began as a very sort of modest group of 21 projects back in 2017-18, that academic year, has grown to 428 projects this year. We now have over 1,600 users on the CUNY Manifold instance. And just this week, 28 texts were added to Manifold. And that brings our total to over 1,700. Actually, we're close to 1,800. We're at 1,787 texts on Manifold that contain over 34,000 annotations. To enhance these 428 projects, faculty and student creators have added 788 resources that are made up of multiple types of files, including audio, video, image, text, spreadsheets, and interactive elements. This past year, we also saw requests to become a project creator on Manifold more than double, going from 54 requests last academic year to 122 requests this year. CUNY instructors across our 25 campuses have really embraced Manifold over the past year of remote learning. And we've seen so many courses using Manifold reading groups to engage students and give them the opportunity to interact with their classmates directly in the margins of the text. We're also thrilled to see STEM folks across CUNY embracing Manifold. And this past year, we have seen 3 new publications for math, statistics, and biology, which we hope will be the first of many more to come. But they're not the only ones taking advantage of this free and open platform. Students have really embraced the platform this year, using it to create projects for their courses, including this amazing collection of memoirs from students that are immigrants, children of immigrants, and/or people of color. This is another wonderful student project, a student-centered cookbook that was created as part of a pedagogical experiment in mindful and experiential learning. We also saw students publish their master's thesis on Manifold and make use of Manifold's access restrictions to create a private space for their own remote study groups. This year, we've also seen faculty and students use Manifold to publish and share really poignant personal essays about themselves and the challenge that they faced in their own lives, including this essay about twins experiencing cancer at the same time. This student essay, where she shares her experience as a young woman, finding her place in the 21st century, is also a new addition. So the CUNY Manifold team has also been working hard this year. And this moment has encouraged us to reflect on how the CUNY community uses Manifold, what is contained in our collections, and how we can do better to support our community. As a result of this reflection, we created Libros en Español, and that's our first collection that's entirely in Spanish. And this is an incredibly important collection for us as we strive to diversify the texts and open educational resources available on Manifold so that they better reflect the needs and individuals that make up our community. This collection began as a conversation with a faculty member from Lehman College who was looking for a new and creative way to teach a course on the 19th century Spanish writer Benito Pérez Galdós. He was interested in using Manifold as a way to create student engagement with text through Manifold's social annotation and reading groups features. Fortunately, all of Galdós's work is in the public domain, and we found some really well-made EPUBs. So we were able to bring those texts into Manifold easily and build his course site. And what we realized as we were doing this was that there was a need for more texts and OER in Spanish. So this set the foundation for Libros en Español, and we have continued to build on it. And so far we have over 100 public domain texts in this collection, and it will continue to grow as we use this platform to elevate female and indigenous voices from across the Spanish-speaking world. But Manifold is not just about textbooks and course readers. We have guides, handbooks, and workbooks for teaching and OER creation. They're all available on Manifold, including this very popular OER workbook by the incredible Stacy Katz at Lehman College. And last but not least, we are also thrilled to have collaborated with our friends from the Center for the Humanities and helped them bring 3 fantastic new projects to Manifold: the Audre Lorde Journals and Syllabi, June Jordan's Life Studies, and Lost and Found's Light Relief Collection. So working with the Center for the Humanities has been such a pleasure, as their materials have encouraged us to think differently about poetry and Manifold, and how we look forward, so forward, to many more collaborations with them in the very near future. So we have exciting new OER features coming soon to Manifold. You will be able to now select texts and resources from other Manifold projects on the CUNY instance and add these to a reading group, essentially turning your reading group into the main page for your course, rather than creating a new Manifold project for your course and adding text and resources. So I encourage you to check out everything that is available on Manifold. Please reach out if you have questions or if you're interested in creating something on Manifold. Thank you so much, and I will hand you over to my colleague, Wendy Barrales.
Actually, before Wendy speaks, we started 10 minutes late because the keynote was running late. So we're hoping that we can go just a few minutes over time if possible. I don't know if the next presenters are in this room already, but if it's okay, Wendy, do you feel comfortable starting?
I don't want to cut into if they need time to set up. I can be brief if that works, but Luz, do we have time?
Yeah, 5 more minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, muchas gracias.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wendy Barrales. I work closely with Robin and the Manifold team. I'm a doctoral student in the urban education program. And I actually taught in the Bronx. I taught at IS 216 in Hunts Point, Longwood area. And I was a community engagement coordinator in Mott Haven. So I'm really, really happy and feel very much like connected to being here with you all and sharing community. And there are 2 things I wanted to talk about briefly. Definitely encourage you to reach out to us if you'd like to know more about these. But as a former public school teacher, I've been working closely with a new teacher ed hub that will be available for all 25 CUNY campuses. But this work is really being led up through Neliza Sadiq and Nikki Fain, Anthony Wheeler, and Zulivet Muniz at Lehman College. I wanted to give a shout out to the folks at Hostos in the early education program who have made an incredible textbook, fully OER, fully available for all kinds of students and courses that, although it's for early childhood education, is incredibly adaptable to all kinds of pedagogical courses. So stay tuned for that. We're making that, we're in like our first phase of that, and we'll share that with you as soon as it's up and running. And then also wanted to talk about, sorry, next slide. Wanted to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion at Manifold. Robin talked extensively about the different projects we have at Manifold. And, you know, with the current political climate and really taking a hard look at our structures as a CUNY Manifold team, and even what our publication stands for, we're really thinking about how to make sure that not just the creators, but the content that we're publishing on Manifold is diverse and is actually aligned to what our commitments are as a team. And so here, this is a preview of one of my projects called Primer País, where I interviewed my abuelita. And so really thinking about Manifold, not just as like publications and for course materials, but that these could really be final projects or any kinds of projects for your students. And that through the student projects that we create, we're able to also be more reflective of the CUNY community. We would love to see more Dominican stories, Jamaican stories. We would love to have more of our Black community members have archival like audio, visual, not just thinking about a published text, but that we can also support the storytelling process through our digital platform. And my next slide is just another preview to again plug that we are also hosting dissertations, master's capstone projects, thesis. So again, my dissertation is called Searching for Mami and Abuelita, again, very reflective and very personal, and encouraging the broader CUNY community. You don't have to be at the Graduate Center to publish on Manifold as well. So I think that's all.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and thank you all for coming. I think we don't want to take any more time from the next presenter, so we will end our session here, but we would invite you to get in touch with any questions you might have, especially if you'd like even just to try out some of these platforms or to follow up with us. And I think all of us will be around the conference all day, so please feel free to get in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for addressing the interesting topic. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Thank you.